West of the Caribbean Sea, at the entrance to the Panama Canal, is the largest mangrove and coral reef ecosystem on the Panamanian Caribbean coast. Bill 55 deals with this ecosystem as it concerns the creation of a natural park in Las Minas Bay region. This area includes the following locations: Colón, its waterfront; Margarita Island U.S. Navy Station; the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute Laboratory; Samba Bonita; Payerde Island; the Panama Oil Refinery; Las Minas Bay IRE Station. This area involves 2,240 hectares of rainforests, mangroves, coral reefs, and sandy beaches with palm trees with the following distribution: 1,680 hectares of mangroves, 790 hectares of coral reefs, and 90 of sandy beaches. Dr. Gloria Batista de Vega, current director of the Project for Sustainable Development at the Caribbean entrance to the canal, presented at her graduation dissertation satellite imagery of the area taken by the Space Laboratory of the University of California at Berkeley with the help of Earth Resource Data Analysis System.
Today, I would like to present to you a dream which carries hope to the needy communities of the province of Colón, which make use of the natural resources of the largest ecosystem of mangrove and coral reefs between Colón and Las Minas Bay. This ecosystem is raw material which already provides many resources to the local population and to the rest of the world. It is up to all of us to maintain it in a sustainable way, not only for Panama, but for all the rest of the world as well.
The idea of making this dream a project started with the signing of Carter Torrijos treaties. At that moment, the local conservationist groups such as APROVERMAR, Association for the Protection of Marine Resources, the Student Association for the Conservation of Resources, ICAP, the conservationist group of Margarita, started to work closely with the Colón municipality, local businessmen, the Panama Refinery, the Friendship Foundation, the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, with the advice of Dr. John Kueck, Punta Galeta Marine Laboratory of the Smithsonian Institute, and Mrs. Eleanor Robson, founder of the Friendship Foundation. Since 1977, this idea has been taken to several national and international meetings on environmental organizations. This has been very effective. At that time, the Honorable Legislator Herman Nagy, then Chairman of the Committee for Environmental Development of the National Assembly, the Honorable Legislator Jorge Elias Montemayor and Mr. Said Guerra, members of said committee, requested the presentation of this project for its consideration before the Legislative Assembly. This initiative was the result of research work performed by Dr. Gloria Batista in the Colón area on the Atlantic coast. Our participation as advisors of the Environmental Development Committee of the National Assembly at that time was in the writing of this document in its legal form, since the technical and scientific research had already been done by Dr. Gloria Batista and a group from Berkeley University. As of September 1993, this project became Bill number 55, through which a natural park is established in Las Minas Bay area. At that time, this bill was not thoroughly understood. If it cannot be understood that it is possible to have economic growth, social justice for human beings, and that concurrently natural resources can be maintained, then such a law won't be accepted, basically due to vested interests. Now let's see a brief description of the area, project objectives, and the planning for Las Minas Bay.
Behind me, you can see the waterfront on the northeast of the city of Colón. This waterfront is linked to the largest coral reef, mangrove, and sandy beaches ecosystem. which altogether provide a set of living animals, protecting the city of Colón and its surroundings from storms coming from hurricanes, which are typical of the Caribbean. If inadequate planning for deforestation and projects, continuous floodings on these coastal areas will increase, and these areas will be exposed to worse conditions very difficult to handle.
Coral reefs are living structures which grow toward the water surface and to the sides, taking up water space. Some of the coral reefs in Colón have reached the water surface, covering large areas. A large part of Colón is built upon coral reefs. At present, there is evidence that the sea level is rising. It rose more than 20 centimeters in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean, and about 10 centimeters in Cristobal Colón. La Playita was where you see that piece of metal. There, I had good water for bathing, but now there is no Playita anymore. Oil is killing everything, and now the water is coming in from the ocean and eating away more land each day. This is a serious problem in Colón, where the daily average tide varies only 17 centimeters above the sea level. Most of these villages are located in areas barely above sea level, such as Colón, Cristobal, Arcoiris, Cocosolo, Francfield, the Panama refinery. Some of these locations are already being affected by floodings during heavy rain showers happening at high tide periods. This data has been the result of more than 25 years of studies by Dr. Johannes Kueck and Norman Duke from the Smithsonian Institute, as well as 15 years of studies by Dr. Batista with the local community.
The main objective of the project for sustainable development at the Caribbean entrance to the Panama Canal are, first, to keep and develop the area in a sustainable manner, second, to develop environmental research and education through the International Center for Environmental Education, third, to develop marine culture and ecotourism in the area, and fourth, to plan the multiple use of the whole system.
Historically, these structures built for the protection of the Panama Canal during the First and Second World Wars have created, in fact, a sanctuary in the area. This area has become an industrial area since 1960 with the development of the Panama oil refinery. It is a research area for the marine and terrestrial ecosystem since 1968. Up to the present, this area has remained in good conditions. With an adequate planning, we can show the world that the coral reef and mangrove areas in the tropics can be managed in a sustainable manner. This enterprise has been operating in Panama since 1962. That is, we have accumulated 34 years of experience in this country, as I said before, next to an important resource such as the sea. Each year, the importance than to work and protect the environment around us is being reinforced. So, as years have passed, we have strengthened this idea of working and protecting the environment. The Panama refinery has made strong efforts in reaching the utmost imperfection in functioning as to avoid accidents with negative consequences over the ecosystem. We are firm believers that if we can keep the balance between the human resource working at the refinery and the environment, we can guarantee the future of our generation. This bill attempts to guarantee the sustainable development between the natural reserves and the industrial area. For 33 years, this has been possible in spite of a few accidents. This, of course, will depend on the law, but especially it is up to us who open up our hearts to the needs of our brothers without forgetting the mangroves upon which depend the rivers which take the water to Colón and surrounding communities. Workshops on ecosystems are a joint project between the refinery and Dr. Batista.
We are in a lagoon mangrove habitat, a part of this whole ecosystem. This ecosystem is unique in the world because of its great biodiversity of habitats. The workshop seminars developed along with the refinery have the objective of integrating man with his ecosystem.
For example, just in marine invertebrates such as lobsters, shrimps, crabs, and snails, more than 1,000 species have been identified here. More than 500 species of marine algae have been identified. These studies have been published in more than 2,000 scientific reports and journals. The Audubon Society with Dr. Engelmann, the Smithsonian with Dr. Kuick and Indranade, proved that in this area there is 34% of the endangered vertebrate species in the Republic of Panama.
We are an integral part of the ecosystem. It gives a lot of benefits to the residents of Colón. Most of the unemployed population in Colón, 32%, lives directly or indirectly of the fishing activity. They can have some income from fishing to support their family. But it all depends on how well we manage this ecosystem, since we know that it will not last forever unless we learn how to integrate ourselves with it. The mission of man and of the local communities is to acknowledge the being part of the ecosystem and to know how to share life with it.
This area is located at a 7-minute drive from the Cristobal port in Colón. The flow of tourists attracted by the Panama Canal and the free port can be entertained by this tourist activity. Constructions made for education may be complemented by ecotourism. Programs for the multiple uses of the reserve may be complemented with ecotourism activities. Business activities of the free zone may provide services for this type of tourist. The most important is the implementation of ecotouristic activities is the participation of local communities which use the local natural resources of the environment. This area is vital for most of the local population. In Colón, the population is about 200,000 people. Nearly 70,000 inhabitants, 34%, are unemployed according to official figures. Most of them make a living directly or indirectly from coastal and offshore fishing according to survey conducted by the Colón municipality, the Smithsonian Institute, and the University of California at Berkeley from 1986 to 1991. The plan for development investment in Colón will probably force the transfer of La Playita residents to some other areas. This has already caused some unrest among people like Leonardo, a diver and red algae collector. They want us out of here to send us somewhere else. How are we going to get back in here to dive? I make a living diving. It's going to be hard for us. See, I make a living out of this. Where can a fisherman go? Into the mountains? I cannot fish there. I can't quit fishing. I like water. I like fishing. I can't live without water. I need it. And all these people here, where can they go? Where can they get fish if there is no place to fish? Are they going to bring fish from Panama after 2 months in an ice box? No, I want fresh fish. Others are hired for deforestation and area projects at an average 60 cents an hour salary in jobs that last from 3 months to 2 years. Upon finishing these, they go back to their original activities, but due to the depletion of mangroves, they soon realize that there are no crabs nor the fish that they could take home free. They can't get new jobs. The mangrove crab is a kind of a traditional protein used by Colon inhabitants. Just like other traditional foods, this one is also endangered. Due to the intensive exploitation of mangroves in this area, this species has vanished from the traditional diet, as well as lisa and other species which were common before. Red algae is an unusual species in Panama, and it has a social and economic importance for the inhabitants of the Atlantic coast. Internationally, Gracillania estetea is the most important algae in business. It is used in Panama by Afro-Antillean and Cuna Indians. The first group uses it as food and to sell it. We make soup, so many things. You can serve it with meat and everything. It's a delicious food. As food, it is also used in an invigorating drink called ice in glass or sea mast. It is sold dried for making tea and to lose weight. Cuna Indians use at least 37 species of sea algae to cure psychological diseases. For example, Gracilaria sp is used to cure the infidelity of a pregnant woman who goes out to sea and is bewitched by a sardine with the face of a man. It is also dried and sold in drugstores in Panama and Colon. These are results of studies conducted by Dr. Batista and Dr. Judith Connors between 1983 and 1986. From Gracillea sp are extracted agar-agar and carrageen, an emulsifier and a stabilizer used in different industry, mainly in the food quality control and biomedicine. Annually, 5,000 tons of agar-agar are collected. Its market value internationally is $20 a kilogram for the food industry and for $100 to $500 a kilogram for biomedical uses. Results of studies conducted by Dr. Batista from 1980 to 1984 show that Panama imports agar-agar and carrageen for the manufacture of products such as powdered milk, processed cheese, ice cream, toothpaste, and in the last stages of beer fermentation. This project makes the proposal of the commercial cultivation of red algae in sea farms due to the fact that it functions as a buffer between the coral reef, the mangrove, and the shoreline. It keeps the water quality and creates new area for multi-products such as oyster. From the red algae, the extraction of agar-agar will increase the family income for those involved in the activity. With agroforestry, the cultivation of soy, beans, and other important produce will complement the basic diet. The mangrove area is being reforested, and the construction of a marine aquarium has been proposed to represent the commercially important marine species. For this, the environmental education and the development of ecotourism are important. This area would become a buffer between the exploitation of resources among the coast inhabitants, hunting, mangrove utilization, and fishing. As can be seen, there are several areas which have been deforested without adequate planning since 1979. Buildings for storage and parking areas for containers and other types of buildings could have been erected on higher grounds where the increase in the sea level and floods would not be a problem. As known, the sea level is rising. Thus, if urban expansion continues growing into coastal